With 2019 behind us, it's time to look back at the best horror films of 2019. Be sure to check out my worst of list. I've left a link up above where you can go and check that out. So sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel, and enjoy the video. Coming in at number 10 is Daniel Isn't Real. This is directed by Adam Egypt Mortimer, and this is about a troubled college freshman who's named Luke, and he suffers this violent family trauma as a kid, and he has this imaginary friend that comes along to help him cope with all this trauma, whose name is Daniel. And Daniel goes away at one point because he gets Luke into some trouble, and later on in his life, when he's in college, Daniel comes back and has some effects on him that aren't necessarily good. I thought that this film was very surprising. I really enjoyed Some Kind of Hate. That was another film by Adam Egypt Mortimer, which I highly recommend checking out. And Daniel Isn't Real shows that he's able to direct a film with a bit more of a higher budget, something that really delves even deeper into mental illness, very similar to Some Kind of Hate, which has to do with self-harm and mental illness and bullying. I thought this film was very original. I really enjoyed the performances by both Miles Robbins and Patrick Schwarzenegger, especially Patrick Schwarzenegger. He did a fantastic job of playing Daniel, and he comes across as very intimidating, very suave, very manipulative, and he has this really great energy to him. And Miles Robbins does a great job of being the everyman. I highly recommend checking this out, especially if you're into films like Mandy. It has that kind of weird type of vibe to it that Mandy has. Coming in at number 9 is Crawl, which is directed by Alexander Aja, and this takes place in Florida, and this huge hurricane hits, and this young girl named Haley, she ignores the evacuation orders to look for her dad, and she finds him badly wounded in their crawl space of their old home, and they're trapped in by this flood. And there's no time to escape the storm, and they discover while the water is rising that these killer alligators are also inhabiting the waters around them, as well as inside the house. I'm gonna be honest, the first time I saw this in theaters, I thought it was okay. I had a good time, it was a fun popcorn flick, but I didn't really think it was anything special. On a rewatch, I really dig this film even more. It's one of those movies that has grown on me more and more, and every time I watch it, it's a lot of fun. It's a very simple story. There's some character things, like with flashbacks between the father and the daughter. It comes across a little cheesy for me, but the kills by the alligators, the suspense, the tension, the action scenes, they're a lot of fun. Plus, Alexander Aja knows how to bring the gore, and he does a great job with the kills in this. And the alligators look pretty cool. There's some CGI that's a little off, but it's not too bad. It's one of those movies that I can throw on any time. Coming in at number 8 is the Netflix original film, The Perfection, directed by Richard Shepard, and this stars Allison Williams, Logan Browning, and Steven Weber. And this is about a troubled musical prodigy named Charlotte who seeks out this other woman named Elizabeth, who's the new star pupil of her former school, and they have this romantic encounter, and they end up going down this sinister path, and there are some shocking consequences and some shocking scenes. This was a film that I had no idea what was going to happen, which is the best thing that can happen when you're watching a horror film, is having that sense of unpredictability. I could not guess what was going to happen next, and when I did, they would throw a curveball, and I loved that about this film. The other thing that's really great about this film is the performances, especially Allison Williams and Logan Browning. They have really great chemistry together, and I love the scenes of them together, and then when things go sinister, they play so well off of one another. The overall storyline was really original. I don't want to give too much away in case you haven't seen it, because this is one that you want to try and go in as blind as possible, and even if you've seen the trailer, it only gives you a small snippet of what's to come in the film. Coming in at number 7 is Haunt, which is directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, who wrote A Quiet Place from 2018. And this film takes place on Halloween. A group of friends, they go to this extreme haunted house that promises to feed on their darkest fears. And then everything just goes to hell in a handbasket. The night turns deadly, and they come to this horrifying realization that this haunted house, this extreme haunt, is super deadly. This is such a fantastic slasher, and this movie came out of nowhere, and I loved it immediately. And this is one that I can see myself rewatching again and again every Halloween. It's got great gore, it's got great practical effects. The story and the way that the film is shot, it gets to the point and it gets you right into the nitty-gritty of some awesome kills, some really good suspense, and the haunted house itself is really cool, as well as all of the killers and their masks and their costumes, and then finding out who they are. That reveal, everything about that is fantastic. It's got a really good young cast, especially Katie Stevens. I really enjoyed her in this film. And if you haven't checked out Haunt, give it a watch. It is an awesome horror film, especially if you're a slasher fan. Coming in at number 6 is Jordan Peele's Us. I really enjoyed his first film, Get Out, and Us is also another fantastic film. This is about a husband and wife, Gabe and Adelaide Wilson, who take their kids to their beach house in Santa Cruz, and they're just looking to unplug and unwind with their friends. And that night, a group of doppelgangers show up, and all chaos ensues, not only for their family, but for the residents of Santa Cruz and beyond. This was a really fun film, a really good popcorn film. The cast is really likable, especially Lupita Nyong'o and Winston Duke. I feel like this is a good film to watch if you're getting into horror films, because it's not super scary, but it's unsettling enough. Coming in at number 5 is Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse, and this is about 2 lighthouse keepers who try to maintain their sanity while living on a remote and mysterious New England island in the 1890s. This is a beautiful film. I love the cinematography in this. The fact that the film is shot in black and white and is shot in a way that it's like a silent film really makes it a very original film. It makes it very different from any other film that's come out in 2019. The performances by Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson are fantastic, and really it's just the 2 of them. They are so captivating to watch on screen. I've only seen it once, and I feel like I barely even scratched the surface. Coming in at number 4 is Ready or Not, directed by Radio Silence. This film came out of nowhere and is a ton of fun. I laughed so hard throughout this entire film. It is a fantastic horror comedy with a really great cast. Fantastic performance by Samara Weaving. She is so likable, and I love her in this film, and I can't wait to see what she's in next. Radio Silence had previously done a couple of segments in films such as Southbound and VHS, and this film just takes it to a whole nother level. Coming in at number 3 is Gaspar Noé's Climax. Wow, this film is intense. It wrecked me after I saw this film, but even with that, I've seen this movie 3 or 4 times. The basic plot is about a group of dancers who gather in this remote and empty school, and they're rehearsing on this cold and wintry night. The all-night celebration soon turns into this nightmare where they are hallucinating because their sangria was spiked with LSD. If that sounds like a horrifying concept to you, being completely out of control and not knowing what's going on, then this film will frighten you. It's really disturbing, but it's also beautiful at the same time, and that is due in part to the incredible cinematography, the fantastic dancing, the awesome dance soundtrack, and the overall flow of the film. Also, the acting is mostly improv, which is really cool. Definitely check out this film. It's very disturbing, but so worth watching. Coming in at number 2 is Ari Aster's Midsommar. I feel like Ari Aster has absolutely cemented himself as a fantastic director to look out for. I love Florence Pugh in this film. She does a fantastic performance in this film. The entire cast is great, but especially Florence Pugh. This film was very unpredictable. I didn't know where it was headed, and that's the best thing that can possibly happen in a horror film. Everything about this film is gorgeous. I can't recommend this film highly enough. Midsommar is one that I absolutely adore, and I can't wait to rewatch again. And my number one favorite horror film of 2019 is Bliss. This film is directed by Joe Begos, and it's about this woman named Desi who's in need of creative inspiration, and she's feeling professionally stagnant, and she's been hard at partying in Los Angeles, and she's been pretty reckless, and she indulges in a series of drug binges. And as the narcotics are flying out of control, so does her newfound and unexplainable, but also unquenchable thirst for human blood. This is such a rad vampire film. I mentioned in my review for this film that this makes me think of Near Dark, but a lot sleazier. Dora Madison as Desi gives a fantastic performance in this film. It's everything I want in indie horror. It's got awesome practical effects and really good gore. It's got a crazy story and a new type of twist to the vampire subgenre. It also has really great cinematography, and the performances overall are really good. This is one that I highly recommend. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for coming by, and I'll see you guys next time.